Welcome back. So this short video is to introduce you, me, to phenomenology. Uh, there are many ways to access phenomenology. Today I chose the very famous motto, back to the things themselves. What does that mean? It means that basically we generally live our life as a stream, as a flow of experiences that go whether we want it or not, and we are caught in the flow of life, and we don't have time to, catch every moment of our life because it's a flow. It's as if we tried to examine every drop in a river. Nevertheless, phenomenology is a humble philosophical approach and method that helps us to stop and reflect on certain phenomena. The word phenomenology comes, in fact, from phainomai, that means to show, to appear, because there's the medio-passive diathesis that indicates, something that appears and shows for itself. So it's an interesting way of experiencing something as this object that gives itself to us and gives itself to itself, because life again flows for everyone. So even these phenomena are an encounter between us and life. So phenomenology wants to logos, which means to observe, to reflect, to study these phenomena, these moments of life that appears to us. And phenomenology has been around for a while. I mean, today we would say that the founder of phenomenology is Edmund Husserl, although we can find seeds of phenomenology in ancient philosophy, in modern philosophy. The term phenomenology appears for the first time with Lambert, and then it's used so during the Illuminism, the Enlightenment, and then we find it again with Kant, with certain pragmatic approaches. So it's not something, Hegel, of course, it's not something that belongs just to Husserl and his followers. Nevertheless, it's with Husserl that we start using phenomenology as a philosophical method that is applied today in sociology, in psychology, in psychiatry, ethnology, because phenomenology gives us a package of tools to come back to the things themselves. So we want to understand how something manifests itself to us and for us. Even though we will never be able to know how a dog feels like, even though we will never be able to become the object itself of our experience, because we are bound to our experience. We are obliged to relate to our point of view when we look at something. What we can do to come back to the thing itself is to study this relationship that connects ourselves to the object of our experience. In that sense, we will be able to unfold, to observe these in between, which is extremely precious to explore the world that we live in. there's not just one world outside of us. There's not just one reality that is out there, and we want to see with the note, with our pad and pen, how it is, how it looks like, and we want to describe it. Everything is always interconnected to my experience, the other person experience. Reality has manifested itself to us. So we need to groom, if you want, to exercise that thoughtful spectator, that disinterested spectator that lives inside each one of us. According to Husserl, we have, the naive ego or subject, if you don't like the word ego, because it has some heavy history. So there is the naive subject that just live life as it is in its natural flow. Uh, but whenever we stop and we want to reflect on what we are living now, on what we are studying now, what we are experiencing in this moment, then our subjectivity changes. Then we become a reflective subject. There's someone who is committing to understanding better the structure of this specific experience. And in this turn, another ego emerges, another kind of subject emerges, which is this disinterested spectator that looks upon this specific moment of our life and describes what's going on. And this is useful not just for philosophical descriptions and not just for psychological analysis. It's useful for our daily life. I mean, being able to stop in certain moments of our life and observe what we just did, not as reproaching subjects. I did this wrong. I should have done this better. I said this wonderful thing that, this was really perfect. We want to exercise the sight, if you want, the presence of this disinterested spectator that is not there to judge, is not there to make any choice, to decide any course of action, is there to observe and to tell us what the observation brought. Here we enter in the core of phenomenology. Back to the things themselves is a motto that was pretty popular while Husserl was writing. Here we are at the beginning of the 20th century, because there's this need for science to use a more realistic approach that is based on the experience, on experiments, on something that we can observe. And here, mm, phenomenology, Husserl gives us this wonderful gift, which is to use an approach that is that can be helpful for our life, because it can introduce a kind of a meditative a practice approach through which we are capable of looking at the thing itself, meaning life itself or a portion of it, for how it unfolds for us. There's no, for phenomenology, there's no reality as such. There's a continuous co-functioning, because what becomes part of my lived experience, what becomes part of my world, of my sphere of perception, is something that is functioning for me in that moment, because it's manifesting to me in a specific way, in order to gather, not in order to gather certain meanings, but in a way that will produce certain meanings, because in the confunctioning of my life and the life of this thing that became part of my sphere of perception, a marvelous phenomenon is happening. The life is talking to me, and it's making sense to me. And the other beautiful part, which we'll examine later on, is that I am not a monad. I'm not just a subject that is alone on an island and so on. I am an intersubjective compound of many other different realities. I am and I, we. This functioning is, this co-functioning is a co-functioning of this lived experience with my lived experience. But inside my lived experience, there's a society, there's a life world that brings other meanings. And being able to describe the reality that unfolds in this intricate and complex combination brings us to remarkable solutions and unexpected forms of understanding of a certain reality. That's why phenomenology has been particularly helpful, for example, in psychopathology, to take the experience seriously, to take the suffering or simply the experience of certain people defined by an outdated psychopathology as abnormal seriously. To understand what their life world is and what our life world is altogether in the interaction. So for today, just this. I hope you enjoyed this little introduction to phenomenology. More to come. Let's see. Have a good evening. Bye.